to be humble, to be kind. It is a giving of the peace in your mind, to a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is a thinking that the heart can still be saved, and the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see, a world that's full of endless possibilities. And heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
Thank you, Brian, and good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. I'm Reverend Marcus Liefert, and I'm so glad to be with you, so glad for you who want to be here, even in this glimpse of gorgeous blue sky and warm weather. Hopefully it will remain so long enough that it'll still be there when we're done. If you are visiting with us for the first time, I want to offer you especially a welcome. We hope that no matter who you are or how you make your living, no matter how you experience the sacred or whom you love, you will feel welcome among us here. If you have questions, there's folks at the welcome table in the atrium after the service, happy to answer them. We've also got our first monthly newcomer Q&A happening today. Charisse will mention that again in the fireside room, so stick around if you want to chat with me and our connections coordinator, Charisse Domador. There's a memory book at the back of the sanctuary every week. Anyone who has something on their heart that would like read aloud, a joy or a sorrow, a grief or gratitude, you're welcome to write it there, and I'll mention it in our time of prayer. If there's a silent memory or thought you'd like honored, you're always welcome to light a candle without writing anything down. We are kicking off a new worship series today. We're going to be talking about being courageously corporeal, celebrating our holy embodiment during this season of Lent, now through Easter. And I know Lent is not probably something most of you think about very much, so we'll talk a little bit about that later. As we kick off with an exorcism, we're going to try and perform an exorcism of René Descartes. I don't know if anybody else feels haunted by the man. Oh, good. Thanks, Sheldon. But I certainly do. So we'll see what we can do. And here to help us with our exorcism, we've got special music guests today. We've got Emma's Revolution, who are a UU folk rock band who have been acclaimed around the country for their awesome music, their great messages, and the life that they bring to Unitarian Universalists and beyond. So thank you so much, Sandy O and Pat Humphreys, for being here. They're going to be playing this week at the Freight and Salvage. I'm going Wednesday night, so if you want some more Emma's Revolution after today, come for that. And without further ado, would you rise in body or spirit, and Pat and Sandy are going to lead us in some music.
Thank you so much. Oh, yours. Thank you so much, and good morning.
How great to be with you all this morning.
The song is about rising for justice, rising with our people to create a world where everyone is seen and everyone is valued. And you can sing with us.
And you are our people, so it's good to be with our people today. Our people gonna rise. Our people gonna rise. Listen to our cries through the pain and lies. Our people gonna rise. Our people gonna sing.
Our people gonna sing.
Our people gonna sing. In spite of everything, hear our freedom ring. Our people gonna sing. Fight. Our people gonna fight.
Our people gonna fight.
Our people gonna fight for what we know is right. We're marching to the night. Our people gonna fight. Grieve. Our people gonna grieve.
Our people gonna grieve.
Our people gonna grieve. Whatever you believe, we have the right to breathe. Our people gonna grieve. Our people gonna pray.
Our people gonna pray.
Our people gonna pray. Take our rights away. See you on election day. Our people gonna pray. Our people gonna rise.
Our people gonna rise.
Our people gonna rise. Listen to our cries through the pain and lies. Our people gonna rise.
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 There, huh? All right. Well, good morning. I'm Virginia Frederick, also known as Ginger, and I'm your worship associate today. And as we light our chalice, we remind ourselves that our church occupies land in Huchiun, the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking people, and may we have humility and courage to do our part to restore what has been broken and the wisdom to live in new solidarity with indigenous communities and the earth. Light our chalice with these words by Cooper Garrett. O divine love, with the kindling of this flame, may we realize and love our true selves, our true round belly selves, our true bags under the eye selves, our true naturally hairy selves, our true wrinkles on the skin selves. May our self-love keep our chalice ablaze. Now, will you join me in saying our covenant? Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose: to give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
Pete Seeger was a dear friend and mentor to us. We lived for 13 years in the Hudson Valley and had many opportunities to cross paths with him during that time. He had this way of getting everybody in a room, regardless of whether they felt like they could sing or not, got them compelled them to sing, so that they could be part of things. And that's the thing about this music. The idea is to bring you in. We don't all have to be professionals. We just all have to be part of something larger. And it's one of the things that Pete left us with, that sense of hope that's created when we're all in with one another. And this has a chorus, and I believe it's going to be up on there, right?
Yeah, do you want to?
Oh, good. I like to teach it, though, because, it's Pete style. So I'm going to sing a line, you sing it back. Oh, hear the banjo ring, sing that. Oh, hear the banjo ring, hear the people sing, hear the people sing. Hope changes everything. Hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Sing, people, sing. And you got it there. And hopefully this will be in tune with us.
You're thinking all the banjo jokes. We know you are.
They said it couldn't be done. Let's try that together. Oh, hear the banjo ring, hear the people sing. Hope, hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Summer of my 18th year in San Francisco, he'd appear. I jumped onto a trolley car, alone and wondering. The grove was full when I got there. People came from everywhere. I climbed around would by the stage to watch the reveling. Oh, hear the banjo ring, hear the people sing. Hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Years went by, I got a call, a festival in early fall, along the Hudson River shore, a harvest gathering, asking me to volunteer to keep the river clean and clear, to celebrate the river's life and all the gifts she brings. Oh, hear the banjo ring, hear the people sing. Hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Stood up till McCarthy's rage, rallied for a living wage, rode with Woody, marched with Dr. King. Patiently brought us along, taught us each and every song. With Toshi by your side, you could do most anything. You showed us how the world could be, living with integrity. Together we create a force beyond imagining. As I observed your dimming light, I felt a spark in me ignite. But I would trade it all today to hear your banjo ring. Oh, hear the banjo ring, hear the people sing. Hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Do that again. Oh, hear the banjo ring, hear the people sing. Hope changes everything. Sing, people, sing. Sing, people, sing. Sing, people, sing.
Got a story to share, so if anybody young or young at heart wants to come on up with me to hear this story, you're invited to come on forward. It's a story, hopefully about a little bit of hope. You want to come on up? Here, come on over, guys. This is a story that takes place long ago during the time of King Solomon. Do you know about King Solomon? No. Good. This is a great introduction to King Solomon. Have you ever had the experience of your body knowing something before your mind and your thoughts do? Ever felt something like Wynn's had it, like you feel something like as your body's telling you something, but maybe you don't have the words to talk about it yet, that sort of a thing? Well, this is a story that I'm trying to make about that a little bit. This is a story about a woman, and she was an old woman who didn't have very much money, and she lived on the streets of Jerusalem when Solomon was the wise king in the court. That's what Solomon was known for. He was known for being the wisest king and judge of all the lands. And so this woman, she didn't have enough money to even buy bread, but there was this bakery that was known as the best bakery in town. And so one day she came, and the line was out the door and around the corner, and she just came to stand in line, and when she got up, she just smelled the bread. And her body just knew that even if she couldn't buy the bread, that it would be good for her to be in that bakery and smell the smell of fresh baked bread. Have you smelled fresh baked bread? Is there any better smell than fresh baked bread? Oh. And so she smelled that bread, and then she turned to go because she couldn't afford to buy it. The baker said, "Hey, you, beggar woman, pay up." And she said, I didn't even taste the bread. I'm sorry, I don't have any money to pay. I just smelled it. And he said, "And that is what you owe me for the smell of my bread." And she said, I don't have it, I can't. And before you know it, there's a big crowd and everybody's giving advice and pointing. And so what he does, the baker takes this woman and drags her across town to the court of King Solomon. And there they are in the court of King Solomon, and he explains his case. "This woman, Your Honor, she came and smelled my bread and has not paid me anything." And everybody sort of laughed. "No way, this is ridiculous." But King Solomon nodded and turned to the woman and said, "Is it true? Did you smell his bread, and have you not paid him at all?" And she said, "Yes, Your Highness, it is, but how could I? I don't have any. All I did was smell the bread. Must I pay him?" And King Solomon said, "By the law of our land, you must." And she said, "Well, all I have are these few coins here." He said, "Count them." And so she pulled out her coins and she set them into her palm. 1, 2, 3, clink, clink, clink. They went into the palm of her hand. "All it is a half shekel. Must I give it to him?" And King Solomon said, "Very well, baker, you've been paid." And he said, "What? No, she has to give you the money first. She hasn't given it." And he said, "No, for the smell of your bread, you've heard the sound of her coins." And I think it has something to do with how King Solomon knew how to stay close to the wisdom of his body, that he could make judgments such as that. So I hope that you and all of us get closer and closer to the wisdom of our bodies. Would you join me, rise in body or spirit, and we'll sing our children out to their celebration chapel this morning. Thank you, Katie Lipka, our YCC director, for leading that. Guide my feet. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race, 'cause I don't want to run this race in vain, race in vain. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race, for I don't want to run this race in vain. Vain.
When I was asked to consider the wisdom of the body, I wondered, well, what does that mean? And as a chiropractor, though, I have a pretty good idea. Now, one can think of these effects that fall into many categories when you think about the wisdom of the body. So we have the wisdom of homeostasis, which allows blood pressure and temperature to self-regulate to keep things all the same. There's a feedback mechanism. There's adaptability. There's, of course, the immune system. And the most important to chiropractic is the neurological system. Now, these processes were all summed up in the early 20th century by the original chiropractors as being called innate intelligence. Our bodies have a powerful ability to heal. We just need to get out of nature's way. In fact, they had an expression called ADIO, which meant above, down, inside, out, which is the idea that it comes from above, but then it goes out. And B.J. Palmer, who was one of the founders of Palmer Chiropractic College, one of the originals, he taught that the preservation of health is easier than the cure for disease. And his famous quote was, "The power that makes the body can heal the body." Now, as I was thinking this past week about the wisdom of the body and all the changes that happened in my body, well, I've already shared with you all about how when I fell a year ago in my kitchen and broke my knee, and what a humbling experience that was. Now here it is, a year later, and I'm experiencing the self-healing process. It's doing really, really well. Now, another system that sprung to mind was one felt quite acutely by many of the women in this room, the reproductive system. Now, this is a complicated system. It involves hormonal regulation, menstrual cycles, supporting fetal development during pregnancy. And throughout history, and in places in the world, and even in our own country today, women often have no control over their own bodies. Pregnancy is natural, but it can be hard. It was a bit of a challenge for us to start a family. It took a while. We were committed to it, and would succeed we did. Ironic that something that we so longed for was so uncomfortable. I had the experience of a sensation of a bodily organ suddenly becoming animated. It's something I remember really clearly. And since I was 35 when I had my first child, I was rudely called an elderly primavera. Well, it's perhaps because of my ancient status, that my pregnancy was not a walk in the park. Not only did I feel like my liver suddenly started kicking me, but I had morning sickness, heartburn, and the feeling of being a house because I am already 6 feet tall, and I had a situation where I had abnormal amounts of amniotic fluid, so I was like really huge. I was measuring 50 weeks by the time I delivered. In fact, people would call, I've had this happen more than once, people in a grocery store would call to a friend like, "Come over and see this huge woman." Not fun. I remember that discomfort. And for many, it's not just discomfort, but real complications. Women can suffer from high blood pressure, gestational diabetes, infection, preeclampsia, preterm labor, and of course, depression and anxiety. Now, while being a miracle of the innate intelligence, it really is a labor of love. And it's heartbreaking and infuriating to me to think that nowadays the technology exists that something can be forced upon women who have to struggle for their bodily autonomy. Now, lastly, as I was thinking of my own bodily experiences, I thought about aging. Now, I chuckled and resonated with the t-shirt that I saw someone wearing the other day that proclaimed, "I didn't think old age would happen this soon." But we should still consider ourselves a success in this race of being human. For as Samuel Clemens says, "Don't complain about growing old. It's a privilege denied to many."
My body and I will see you on Tuesday, Dr. Frederick.
If you would like to sing this one with us while you reflect, we're going to do it in the embodied way, where you're going to hear it and see it come to you. And Pat will sing a line, and you can sing it right back to her. In unison, meaning you sing the same notes as her, or you can make up a harmony part. See whatever feels right to you. And in this time, we need these reminders that we are one community. We are one world. We are one human community. So we sing this with all of our hearts and all of our justice-making abilities to create that world of unity and safety for everyone.
Smiling face,
outstretched hand,
through dispute, small and grand, we will lay down our guns. We are one. In the rage, through the war, we have shared pain before. In our grief, when it's done, we are one. We are one. Where the earth touches sky, we are born, we all die. Where the clear waters run, we are one. We are one. When the light touches land, over sea, over sand, when each day has begun, we are one. When the rock wears away, and the tide rolls and sways by the moon, by the sun, we are one. Where the earth touches sky, we are born, we all die. Where the clear waters run, we are one. We are one. In the soft of the night, we are learning not to fight. In our hearts, in the drum, we are one. In the birth of a child, through the fears, and the mind, in our children, each one, we are one. Where the earth touches sky, we are born, we all die. Where the clear waters run, we are one. We are one. In our children, each one, we are one. We are one.
invite you to take a deep breath and let it out with a sigh. Maybe one more. Give it a little noise if you want. For our time of centering today, I'm going to invite us into a one-hand dance. And if it's more comfortable for you not to move around, if it's too weird, you're always welcome to just witness. This is from a body of work called Interplay. So I invite you to just take a hand and shake it out, and shake out another hand, shake out whatever you're sitting on. And then take a hand and do a little bit of smooth movement. If you bump into somebody, just say thank you. And do a little jerky movement. Good. Try some fast and smooth. And see if you can do slow and jerky. How does that work? Play a little with how far away you can reach the edges of your space. If you need to switch hands to get the other edge, go for it. And come close in, even touching your own body or your microphone. And make a shape and hold it for a moment. And make another shape. Make a few shapes. Your own time. Make 3 shapes faster than you can think. And make another couple. Take another deep breath, let it out with a sigh. We have a little vocabulary. Brian's going to play just a minute or so of music, and I invite you to enjoy a one-hand dance. And maybe a one-hand dance, maybe it'll involve your neighbor a little bit too, maybe not. 1 minute or so, and then we'll rest into some quiet, some silence and stillness together. Take another deep breath and let it out with a sigh. Each week in this community of care and witness, we hold one another through the seasons of our lives and lift up those joys and sorrows among us. Today, we, with Sandy Portillo Robbins, offer a big happy birthday to my husband of almost 25 years, Richard. Here's to a great year. gratitude for the gracious sharing, for better health and remembrance, for this giving month of goal, and thanks for our poetic responses. Please remember the poet Richard Angeli, the hope for the future, words of inspiring significance. With Natika, we offer love. May we hold in our hearts the million refugees in Rafah and the Israeli people as the world leaders gather to deter an attack on this vulnerable community in Gaza. So we pray with Debbie Clifford. We offer healing prayers for Andrea Brewster after foot surgery, with Nancy. With Richie Dawkins, we welcome back, and also we offer a prayer for Brian O'Riva, blessings with him in his time of health. And for the Flemings family, may God keep them healthy and prosperous. LaDawn Dawkins. With someone, we are praying for a friend whose mother has been diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer that has spread throughout her body. Let us pray that those who are sick and in pain find some comfort. Today I offer our blessing and celebration of the installation of Reverend Jen Chapman at Arlington Community Church, our neighbor just down the road. I'll be there to celebrate with them at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And I offer my own remembrance with adoration and gratitude, the life of Reverend Jan Eller Isaacs, one of my childhood ministers who died this week. And Kathleen Slobin writes what so many of us have been thinking about this week. Let us celebrate and mourn the life of Alexei Navalny, who tragically died unexpectedly in a Siberian prison on Friday. A great loss to the people of Russia and of the world. May his life continue to be a blessing. With all that we have named and all that remains yet unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, may we know that what each of us brings here is held in the loving embrace of this community and by a nameless love, a love that will hold us no matter what, that cannot and will not let us go. May it be so, and amen. And I invite you one more time, for just 30 seconds or so, to have a one-hand dance on behalf of anyone who you're thinking of or anything in the world going on. If you want to offer a little intention to this dance, a dance on behalf of.
This song has a part for you. There are many stories. All of these songs, in case you were wondering, all of these songs are songs that we've written. except for the very last song that we'll sing today. And I'll save the stories for the concert that we'll do on Wednesday, which you can view by live stream, because I'm sorry there are no more seats available in the freight, but you can be with us on screen, and we would love for you to join us that way. But please sing this part. It works actually as a two-part round. I'll sing. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. And that's the whole part. So you can try that with me. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. And if you keep that going, we're going to sing other things on top of that as we go along.
And some people can come in with me on the second part of the round, and you'll get to feel what it feels like for two hands of music to be dancing together.
Peace, salam, shalom. 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 We believe in peace.
Salam shalom.
We believe in
Peace, salam shalom.
We believe in peace.
Salam shalom.
We believe in
Peace, salam shalom.
Nous pensons pour la paix.
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 Peace, salam shalom.
We will work for peace. 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 Creemos en la paz. Creemos en la paz. Creemos en la paz. Creemos en la paz. We can live in peace. 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 Vivimos en la paz.
Salam shalom.
Vivimos en la paz.
Salam shalom.
Vivimos en la
Peace,
paz.
salam shalom.
Vivimos en la
Peace,
paz.
salam shalom.
We believe in peace. Salam shalom. Peace, salam shalom. Peace, salam shalom. Peace, salam shalom.
Thank you, thank you. I'm going to give you a longer reading to start this morning. This is a reading from Phil Porter, who he's going to actually be with us. He was an important teacher of mine. He started this body of work called Interplay with a colleague, Cynthia Winton Henry, and he's going to come and guest preach with us in a couple of weeks. But this is from a book he titled The Slightly Mad Rantings of a Body Intellectual. So, buckle your seatbelt. Being in your body, what could that possibly mean? Isn't the body a temporal shell that we will cast aside like the carapace of a molting cicada? Won't we move on to something more noble, more ethereal, like those togaed gods in the movies wafting around clouds pumped from an offstage fog machine? Won't the true beauty of our souls finally be revealed at the end of time so we can cast aside our concern for our wrinkly skin, lumpy thighs, hair that grows only where it shouldn't, and all the unseemly burps and urges of day-to-day life? Won't we finally be light and lithe? Don't you wish? A few hundred years of accumulated culture and language have convinced us that the true us is separate from our bodies, trapped in the envelope of our skin, our beautiful spirits bouncing from edge to edge, edgy to escape. But face it, here we are, all arms and legs akimbo, full of snaky veins and fatty corpuscles. We are firmly rooted on, in, and of the earth. Try as we might to rise above it in ourselves. To be in our bodies is to embrace the fullness of physicality. We stroll, we jog, we lean on the frame of a door. That's physical. We stroll and dance and recline and fart and make love, and it's all physical. We imagine and we compute and we analyze and we fantasize, plot and plan, even when we do this sitting absolutely still, which we rarely do. It is still physical. We feel and fear and love and have the greediest desires. We rejoice and lament and tremble in our boots, and it's all physical. We face the darkness, the awe overwhelms us. We commune with infinity. Our hearts murmur with the most mysterious God talk, and it is all physical. Body, mind, heart, spirit, it's all one, not kept in separate compartments like the knives, forks, and spoons in the silverware drawer, but all jumbled together. Our experience is as specific and varied as the potato masher, the cheese slicer, the garlic press, and hundreds of other kitchen utensils we can hardly identify by name or function. We are a delightful mystery, full of inexplicable surprises and the simplest of pleasures and pain. But how did we get where we are today, all self-conscious and gangly and embarrassed of ourselves? We should be plumped up like arrogant roosters, our fullness ruffling every feather. Instead, we slump or wobbly in wobbly shame, not quite ready to claim the all of who we are, have been, will be. At some tragic point in our life, mere months after birth, we passed out of that all too short phase where everything we did was adorable, charming, amusing, and entered into the land of no. From then on, someone or another was telling us, don't do that. Parents, teachers, preachers, bosses, all had expert opinions about what we shouldn't be doing. Is it any wonder, then, that over time our physicality became more and more restricted and restrained? Surely, but surely, the ropes were wrapped around us until we could barely move. Yes, sitting still is a valuable skill to learn, but did we have to stop breathing as well? So ends the reading. Do you have an early memory of being told no? I had a wonderful preschool. I went to a Montessori preschool just actually down the hill, Cedar Creek Montessori at the Friends Quaker Church there, and it really was an incredible school. I got to kindergarten and I was well advanced, and I got to skip right to first grade. But one of my strongest memories from Cedar Creek Montessori is the time I got in trouble. We were playing in the backyard there on the play structure, my friends and I, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you don't know about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, congratulations. But they were very popular at the time. I think they're still around. They were named after Renaissance artists, and each of them had a different weapon, and so we were practicing our martial arts. We were in formation. We weren't fighting each other. We were just, practicing how to throw a punch and hit with. I liked Donatello with the staff, and that was not allowed at Cedar Creek Montessori School. And it was one of my first lessons in the power of shame, to contain and confine the body. I don't think it was any teacher's intention to shame us, but that no to something that was, I think, a perfectly appropriate developmental activity of this healthy aggression, to know that it was not permissible, it was dangerous. And to discover that the body is dangerous, can be destructive, is a powerful lesson, and one that led me to believe it's much safer to keep my body seated and still, to focus on the life of the mind. And I practiced that diligently for decades. And my guess is I'm not the only one in this room. This element in our culture, this suspicion of the body, the elevation of the mind or spirit, it's of course quite old. Here's just another short piece from Porter's book. This piece is called Body Spirits. He said, someone in the past, long since dead, or maybe a committee of the faithful, also long since dead, decided that the body and spirit were mortal enemies that could never get along. That crowd may have just been having a bad hair day, but years of culture and language have propped up this point of view. We have even been led to believe that one is good and the other is suspect, and you and I know which is which. Where did all this go wrong? Somewhere back there, human experience began to be divided up into neat little categories. I'm sure it was a good idea at the time, but we have mastered separation and categorization. What we need right now is to pull it all back together, to see how richly intertwined all of our experience is, to have it all together. Thoughts, feelings, and those glimpses of a bigger reality that we call spirit are all physical experiences, much like any other physical sensation we experience in our bodies. The trouble is, with all of that neat categorization, dividing things up and creating this hierarchy of the mind-body split, it's not just that the mind and the body got separated. More is ascribed to these categories than just mind or spirit and the body. We map so much onto the hierarchy. Patriarchy uses this dualism to associate men with the higher realm of the mind, women and trans people as closer and partly the body. As European colonialism spread across the globe, this Enlightenment logic elevated whiteness as the purest, the most spiritual ethnicity, made whiteness as a feature of bodies, invisible even, seen as the norm, the blank slate, while black and brown bodies, all bodies of color, associated with the lower physical plane. Right, in this country, it was believed that black bodies didn't even have souls. This split rooted itself in the animal and the human being completely separate. And while, of course, that materially benefited some and had dire destructive consequences for others, it's also true, I think, that this separating, it harmed all of us. One tiny example, in case you're not aware, do you know that those of us who attend these predominantly white Protestant congregations, we are made fun of all the world round for our inability to clap on the 2 and the 4? Do you know this? Oh, I still struggle. I really appreciate when we got strong leadership with the clapping. I had a trauma. My minister, when I was 12 years old, I was trying to clap along. I was a worship associate up front, and I was not on. And he came and stood right behind me and grabbed my hands and clapped for me in front of the congregation. And I brace myself every time I clap in church still. Because the body remembers, the body holds on to these experiences, tries so hard to keep us safe. One of my other teachers, Rebecca Parker, are one of our eminent theologians of contemporary Unitarian Universalism. She has an essay she titled Vulnerable and Powerful, Vulnerable and Powerful. Humanism from a feminist perspective. She's trying to offer a corrective for our humanism that has so often focused on the power and capacity of human beings to bring about the world we dream of, but that has sometimes lost sight of our vulnerability. And so Rebecca's going to lead us to the subject of this morning's exorcism. The Enlightenment tradition, she writes, as represented by Descartes, elevates mind over body to such an extent that it raises doubts regarding the body's significance or even existence. We cannot know the world exists. We can only know that our mental operations exist. We cannot know there's any objective reality. We can only know our subjective experience. This world becomes nothing more than a projection of the mind. You're familiar with this thinking, right? And so she leads us into Descartes' study, and I imagine it strewn with books and papers and a ratty armchair in the corner and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. But that's just all in my head. And so Parker describes Descartes struggling with the question of whether he could be sure he existed. And it's interesting, she says, that Western philosophy reached the point where a human being could sit in a study wondering whether he really existed. Descartes, meditating on this question, came to his famous conclusion, you know it, I think, therefore I am. And now, just for a moment, she says, imagine the other things Descartes could have said. He might have said, I've tasted the sweetness of oranges, therefore I am. I have felt the salt of the sea against the blackberry scratches on my bare legs, therefore I am. I have felt your hand in mine and know that rise of joy at your presence, therefore I am. But Descartes was uncertain of the life of the senses and our connection to each other. He had forgotten the body. Robert Bly, the poet and writer and teacher known for his work in that mythopoetic men's movement, he reports about a pair of dreams Descartes had the night before he concluded, I think, therefore I am. Descartes wrote about these dreams in his journal. The first, he was walking along a road with a great wind blowing, and the wind was so hard he was blown over, and his left side was crumpling up. The left side of his body in tune with the right side of his brain, right? This is how they tell us it all works now. That the split brain researchers, they say it's that dimension of self connected to the life of the emotions, of aesthetics. Descartes dreamed he was losing half of his being. And in the other dream, he was sitting with a dictionary and flipped through the pages in a frenzy while words were vanishing before his eyes. And Robert Bly says, I know what words were disappearing from Descartes' dictionary. They were words like cinnamon and shadow and warm wind. Okay, so I'm taking aim at Descartes because he's such an easy target. He said it so succinctly, but in truth, that dualism that he marked with, I think, therefore I am, it was around well before his time in the 17th century. And maybe it's useful just for a moment to keep traveling that pathway back. There was an episode of that podcast on being. It was called The Grandeur and Limits of Science. And contemporary physicist Margaret Wertheim was speaking about her writing that reflects on theoretical physics and the context of the wider landscape of our Western philosophy. She in the interview noted for medieval people, before the scientific revolution, people saw themselves as twofold. They had a body and a soul. Each of those aspects of human self had a space for being, right? So that medieval mind-body split was taken for granted, the body and the soul. But with coming into being of Newtonian cosmology, she says, the conception of space became purely physical. And this is that fundamental trauma at the heart of the modern Western world, according to Wertheim. She says it's usually said to be because we reconceived of the world as a mechanical system, but I think it's because we reconceived of the world as a spatial system, which no longer had any way of describing the psychological or spiritual aspects of our being. And so if Newtonian physics is right, she's saying, then we don't have a room for the soul at all. How do you fit it in? And that's the dilemma that Descartes is really responding to. He said, yes, there is res extensa, the physical laws of nature that can describe matter in motion through space and time, but there's another beingness, this res cogitans, this realm of thoughts and feeling and emotion and spiritual experience. And while these are distinct, they both exist. They're both legitimate. And while I'm still quite concerned about the codifying the mind-body split and the hierarchy, I think we can forgive Descartes. I'm gonna call off the exorcism, because I think he was trying to do something useful. I like Spinoza's solution more. Came that generation next and said, no, it's all just one piece. But if it didn't come from Descartes, where did this split? Where did it originate? So just one more story. The scene is Gethsemane, the garden. And they've just had that Passover meal, the one that became known as the Last Supper. And Jesus told the groupies gathered around that one of them would betray him, that he would soon die. And it's been an eventful evening, and being the spiritual guy that he is, Jesus asks the disciples to hold vigil, to stay awake through the night and pray with him. Holding vigil, it's one of those archetypal spiritual practices that you've probably engaged in, probably experienced, whether you've named it as such or not. Waiting for news of a loved one, attending a sick bed, curling up around a beloved pet as it becomes clear they will soon die. Waiting on a hard, long pregnancy. Even tossing and turning awake at night, disturbed by something in the news that's quickened your heart, shaken by some event in your life. Any of these can bring us into this state of holding vigil. And here's the thing about holding vigil: the physicality and the spirituality of the experience are inseparable. The body doesn't simply fade away while the spirit is racked with intensity. No, if you've ever accompanied someone in the hospital, you know how physically exhausting holding vigil is. It's not a separate, mundane experience while the real, meaningful spiritual experience is happening up here in the profound thoughts you're having. No, the physicality is the spirituality. It's all one. And I do think that's the invitation of this season in the Christian liturgical calendar. It's to remember our physicality is our spirituality. As Christians around the world placed ashes on their forehead this week and heard, "From dust you came, and to dust you shall return," it's a reminder of the body as a physical site of spiritual experience. And so I wonder, as we dwell in this season of the body, as we hold vigil through the end of winter, awaiting the rebirth and awakening the resurrection of spring, Is there anything that you might want to practice to bring yourself closer, to remove one layer of all the protections we use to keep our bodily reality safe from the world and its harsh desire to change us, as David White would say? So Jesus, he takes a moment to pray and then comes back to his people to find they've fallen asleep. And Jesus is shocked and mad, but come on, if you've ever been to a Passover Seder, you know how many glasses of wine those people were drinking. And so the story reports that Jesus said to them, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And there it is, right? That mind-body split that we're still struggling with today. Another time we'll talk about how it couldn't have actually been the words of the historical Jesus. He was not drawing on anything in Jewish tradition, in Jewish rabbinical or scriptural tradition. There's no mind-body split, and instead those scriptures that were written decades or even centuries after his life were understanding him through the lens of Greek philosophers who had been conceptualizing of this mind-body split. Once more, Rebecca Parker reminds us of the stakes, that to doubt the existence of the world is implicitly to doubt grace. The sweet smell of a rose becomes not a gift, but a projection. Nothing was given to us, no cup of water, no sunset, no Beethoven symphony. We dreamed it all up. Doubt this profound leads to senseless violence. Under the influence of the alienated, enlightened mind, it's easy to bomb Baghdad or Gaza or Ukraine because we fail to imagine the reality of other people's lives, cultures, and histories. It's easy to violate the environment, cut down the rainforests, and practice agriculture in a way that makes the earth barren. With an alienated mind, care becomes impossible. So may we have this season of Lent, may we have a little more attention to our senses that allows us to take a little less seriously our thoughts. For our own wholeness, for the wholeness of the planet, let's remember to take a little more stock in the sweetness of the orange, in the sting of salt water against blackberry scratches on bare legs, the warmth of a hand, the sensation of joy. May it be so, and amen.
We invite you now into the spiritual practice of generosity. Instead of passing the plate, you can give electronically by scanning the QR code on the back of your badge, or you can put a cash or check in the envelope that's in the back of the pew in front of you. Write your name on it and write offering plate or pledge and put it in the donation box by the fountain in the atrium. Each week, half of the offering plate is shared by a nonprofit Good Neighbor organization recommended by our wonderful Social Justice Council. And thank you so much for practicing generosity with your UCB and with our good neighbors. Offerings of any amount are accepted with gratitude. The good neighbor for this month is Safe Organized Spaces, SOS. Now, 85% of the SOS staff themselves are or have been unhoused individuals. SOS supports the government's Housing First approach to strive for immediate housing, yet it also works to fill the gaps, such as the need for connection and community agency, and they partner with community agencies and members so that SOS can serve isolated encampments. And they provide jobs and resources to help people sustain themselves, such as mobile showers, laundry, food, clothing, drinking water, transportation, moving services, and other things. So, thank you.
This is a song we wrote for the UU General Assembly in 2014, where the theme was the words that became this song, Love Reaches Out, and it was about addressing issues such as are being addressed by SOS Richmond.
If you find yourself in need,
if you fear what lies ahead,
forge a path of trust.
Love reaches out where hope replaces hate,
Where wounds begin to heal,
where we all will have a home. Love reaches out. Love reaches out. Love reaches out. Here by your side, bringing you home. Love reaches out. Love reaches out. Love reaches out. Here by your side, bringing you home. Love reaches out.
here by your side, bringing you home. Love reaches out.
Thank you so much, Pat and Sandy. It's been truly wonderful to have you here. Thank you for your music and your insight and wisdom. It's wonderful. Thank you. So now, please, will you join me in dedicating our offering? We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Charis Domador, your Connections Coordinator. If you're new to our church and you'd like to learn more about us, I invite you to join us for our first monthly newcomer Q&A today, right after the service. We'll serve lunch and answer whatever questions you may have about UUCB. To find out what's happening in the life of our community, you can always check the news link in the homepage of our website, where you'll find our weekly email newsletter, The Week Ahead, with a list of activities, announcements, and contact information. This week, I want to especially lift up the following. Next Sunday, February 25th, the theme of our personal theology seminar will be A Brief History of a Small Life, a story of physical and spiritual growth presented by playwright and UUCB member Harold Dean James. Also next Sunday, we invite you to join UUCB's Black History Month service. It's sponsored by the People of Color Caucus, and the theme is the music of our resilience and our resistance. The service features enlivening and soul-stirring songs and music which celebrate and honor Black history and life and lift up the interconnectedness of all. Bishop Annie Green of the City of the Lord Church in Oakland is our special guest. And on March 16th, members from UU congregations from across the Bay Area will gather in San Francisco for a conversation in Article 2. You can find more information on our website. And now again, we sing together, If I Had a Hammer. Thank you.
Let's rise in body and spirit.
So this will be a slightly different version than you know, but don't worry. Any version that you know will work with this one. The original words were written by Lee Hayes with a melody by Pete Seeger, and you know, at the time that Lee wrote this, there was kind of a tacit agreement that we were all brothers. And years went by, and a woman came up to Pete and said, "Pete, I'm feeling kind of left out." So they started singing Sisters and Brothers. Years went by, and a trans friend of ours came up to us when we were singing in Oakland and said, "Pat, I'm feeling kind of left out." And it was during a time when we were doing a lot of resisting of somebody that is, again, too much in the news and way too close to Washington. And so I think there's a need not only for resistance, but active, offensive, work to keep him as far away from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as possible. So we decided to sing instead all of the resistors. So regardless of what door you come through, what way you identify, know that we see you and we love you. We would love to have you be part of the live stream of our concert that happens on Wednesday. It's a celebration of Sandy's and my 20-plus years writing and singing together. It will be filmed for a documentary that's being made about us. But we love you and we see you, and we'd love you to be part of our people, part of our community.
And right now, this is your invitation to be full-bodied in your participation in this song. You can sing, you can dance, you can do whatever you like. There's plenty of space.
And remember, sing any version you know. It'll still work. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out warning, I'd hammer out the love between all of the resistors, all over this land.
Yeah, you got it.
If I had a bell,
If I had a bell,
I'd ring it in the morning.
I'd ring it in the
I'd
morning.
ring it in the
I'd ring it in the evening.
all over this land.
All over this land. Out danger. I ring out warning. I ring out love between all of the resistors. All over this land.
If I had a song,
If I had a song,
I'd sing it in the morning.
I'd sing it in the
I'd sing
morning.
it in the evening.
I'd sing it in the evening.
All over this land.
All over this land. Danger. I'd sing out warning. I'd sing out love between all of the resistors. All over this land.
Now I got a hammer,
Now I've got a hammer.
and I got a bell,
And I've got a bell.
and I got a
Song
song to sing all over
this land. It's a hammer of justice. It's the bell of freedom. It's the song of love between all of the resistors. All over this land. It's a hammer of justice. It's the bell of freedom. It's the song of love between all of the resistors. All over this land.
Thank you so much.
Reach out a hand or touch a shoulder or an elbow or whatever is good for you. Reach out to the great beyond. Let us be connected. Take a deep breath and let it out with a sigh. May we know we are one body and we depend on each other more than we know. And may our bodies together bring justice and freedom beyond our wildest imaginations. May it be so, and amen.